Where does safety start and where does it end? It doesn't. It's aboard the boat, it's on the wharf, it's in the shed. It's when your eyes open, when your ears start to hear, is where your feet lands. Something that we've always taken for granted, that, you know, it's always someone else. And in a blink of an eye, we can be gone. April the 13th, 2014. That winter, we had our boat left in Summerford with the rest of the boats at the Harbour Authority Wharf and let her freeze in. That's a common practice. We let the boats freeze in. That day, the icebreaker was coming in Summerford Harbour to break up the ice. So the fishing, when the fishing started, that the boats could head out for the season. So that day, Eldred went up to cut out his boat. And the icebreaker came in and everything went really well. So he came home for supper. And after supper, he said, I have to go back up and shut off the boat. And I said, okay, I got a little bit ticked. I said, why is she running? He said, there was some ice frozen down in the fish hole and I wanted to thaw it out. He said, so I got to go up now and shut her down for the night. And being a little tick, I was in my aerobic gear and I was going to get on my treadmill and I said, I was just going to get on my treadmill. And he turned to me and he said, you don't have to go. And you know, you get this little voice sometimes in the back of your head. And this little voice said, oh, yes, you do. So I turned to him and I said, oh, yes, I do. So I put on my boots and I put on my jacket and off we went. So when we got out on the wharf, I stayed in the car and our boat was outside of another boat. So Eldred came, he got out and he jumped from the wharf to the boat and when he did, he missed the rubber because it was a narrow rubber that goes around the boat and his foot slipped and he came down across his ribs and gone, just like that. I jumped out of the car and when I got out on the wharf, there he was, trashing in the water, going up and down, and he was weighed down by a skidoo jacket and big green boots. And I got down over the wharf on the ladder and there was a core of ice and he couldn't get into it. He couldn't get into the wharf. So I got on my knees and held on the rung and I reached for him. And I was wearing a leather glove. And when he finally came up and he got my hand, he took the glove and the glove just slipped and he was gone. And I thought he was never coming back. It seemed like an eternity. He just didn't come back to the surface. And I was just looping my arm through the rung to slide into the water over the edge of the ice to get my legs out and see if I could feel for it or if he could touch them and he could grab hold and haul himself up on me. When he broke the surface and he broke and we just gripped like that and I knew then I hadn't. And so I just hauled him up out of the water, over the ice, and got his hands to the rungs on the ladder. So it took a few minutes to get him, to catch his breath. And I had a cell phone in my pocket and I managed to dial somebody that lived out the lane, friends of ours. And I just screamed, Eldred's in the water. And I threw the phone and kept holding on to him. But within minutes, there was people from the fire department coming and I had him up the ladder then on the wharf. And it was, can you imagine like just watching your spouse drowning in front of you? I mean, it's something that you could never get over. I shook for a month after that. I was, right? It was petrifying. It was the most horrible thing that I don't think I could have lived with it. Watching him drown in front of me and not being able to save him. I think now that we've come more aware of like making sure that, especially at night, that when we're checking on our boats, there's gales of wind, like we never go alone anymore. It's like a partner thing. We don't do that anymore. Just imagine if I never went with him that night. He would never have came home. I would have waited and he would have never came home. We always have to remember that we may be a small boat on the ocean, but we're truly only just a little speck on land also. And in a blink of an eye, we can be gone.